Jyotirgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the divine lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning and welcome to today's Sunday service online. Today's Sunday lecture is the unique Sri Ramakrishna. The life of Sri Ramakrishna is so fascinating. But how much we know Sri Ramakrishna just by reading his life? Have we fully known by reading his great life, the Sri Ramakrishna and divine play? Can we fully know Sri Ramakrishna? Is Sri Ramakrishna fully knowable by this mind and intellect? Or is he much beyond that? Sri Ramakrishna, to be described, he is a phenomenon. You cannot say who he is, but we love him, adore him. We feel his presence in our life. We feel his blessing. We feel we need him in every moment of our life. That is Sri Ramakrishna, always guiding us, always with us, always giving us strength of our mind, always making us feel that we can achieve the ultimate goal of human life. That's Sri Ramakrishna. That power is Sri Ramakrishna. Call it avatar, call it saint, call it a phenomenon, whatever you call it. But he is that being which is not fully known through mind and intellect, which is immanent as this, having this body and life, which was born in 1836, which consumed his play, divine play in 1886, but who is much more than that life. He is eternal, Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna himself asked one of his disciples, "What do you think of me?" he said one day to Yam. How many annas of knowledge I have? Yam didn't reply in terms of how many annas. He said, "I don't know how many annas, but it's difficult to find a person like you who is always blissful, who always so much attractive." At another time, Yam said to him, "There is no one comparable to you. You are unique. Others are perhaps made by God in a machine that God created, but God made you by His own hands." That was Yam's reply to Sri Ramakrishna, finding that Sri Ramakrishna is unique, not fully knowable through our mind and intellect, but he is experienceable as our inseparable self. That is Sri Ramakrishna. I'd like to start the talk from a beautiful writing of Swami Bhajanananda, which says about the Khandana Bhagavandana that we pray every evening in the shrines and the houses. The devotees sing the glory of Sri Ramakrishna. What Swami Vivekananda, he composed that beautiful song in Drupad Tala. But do we fully know who we pray? What these rituals mean? What this worship of Sri Ramakrishna means? How important that are for the followers of Sri Ramakrishna who want fully to spiritualize their life with the help of Sri Ramakrishna, that we seem, however much we know. Swami Bhajanananda says, "A religious ritual is a sacrament. Behind it, there is a sacralizing agent whose power sustains it for centuries. Through the ritual, past events are recreated in the minds of devotees and they encounter divine phenomena afresh. When the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna do puja or arati in their dwelling places, each place of worship becomes, in a mystic sense, his room at Dakshineswar temple garden, that is Sri Ramakrishna's room in Dakshineswar. Time, as it were, stands still, and history is transcended when Sri Ramakrishna accepts, as his devotees believe, their worship day after day, for the time being, there then exists only an eternal now. Such is the miracle that faith works through religious rituals. A ritual, however, is only a temporal expression of the timeless aspiration of the human soul. Birth after birth, through trackless centuries, mankind has been knowingly or unknowingly adoring the divine in some form or other. It is in response to this timeless aspiration of the human soul that the divine incarnates again and again on earth. The God-hungry soul seizes upon these manifestations and tries to derive new meaning and direction regarding its own progress in life. Every word that an incarnation utters becomes a message of light. Every gesture is a promise of hope. Every action a sacrament, and every place the incarnation visits is a center of pilgrimage. This is true of all the great incarnations of the past, Rama and Krishna, Buddha and Christ, and has now come to be true in the case of Sri Ramakrishna. The uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna. How was Sri Ramakrishna's life so unique, so incomparable? As Yam said, you are unique, you are incomparable to anyone. His birth itself was so unique. When the baby was born, it was not to be found anywhere. It was hidden. Just you can think that it is to show that baby, the divine has incarnated, taken the body of flesh and blood, but in reality it is unseeable, it is formless, it is infinite, not to be found. So confined in a body, but not to be seen. That was Sri Ramakrishna. And the lady who was nursing Sri Ramakrishna's mother at the time of delivery found that Sri Ramakrishna had slipped into a hearth, into an oven which was full of ash, but not was alive, it was cold ash. So from there, Dhani Kamarni, as the nurse was named, she brings out and then cleans Sri Ramakrishna. He didn't cry even. He didn't cry, he was just hidden in ash. So to find Sri Ramakrishna is that difficult. We have to find Sri Ramakrishna who is hidden from our eyes. We have to find more deeply, not only through studies. Studies are the first. We have to study his life, we have to study his teachings, and yet we will be not knowing him. We have to find real Sri Ramakrishna in the very depth of our hearts. Only we can know Sri Ramakrishna. That unique, that close to ourselves is Sri Ramakrishna. How unique was his schooling. Children go to school and they are taught that you have to learn so that you get a job. Sri Ramakrishna refused to study as a boy. I don't want bread-winning education. Chal kola bada vidya China. I want that education, as they say, sa vidya ya vimuktaye. A boy, mere boy going to primary school. He said, he didn't utter that Sanskrit word, but what he meant is that alone is real knowledge, which can make you free, which can give you ultimate freedom. That education I want. Sri Ramakrishna, as you could say, refused to go to school, which will give only education so that you earn some money, you eat, feed yourself, and your education purpose is finished. No, that cannot be the real purpose of education. That's what Sri Ramakrishna refused, rebelled to such type of education in a primary school. What a unique personality was Sri Ramakrishna. Then when he was a teenager, at the age of 17, he was called by his brother who was working in Calcutta to help him. And his brother somehow got connected with the Kali temple, and Sri Ramakrishna also went to help him in the worship of Mother Kali, decorating that Mother Kali. And Ram Kumar, his elder brother, who was the priest in Kali temple, he passed away very quick, very soon, like 1 or 2 years, and Sri Ramakrishna was given the charge of worshipping Mother Kali. Now here comes another uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna, a temple priest, a paid staff should be happy to worship the statue with the mantras, with feet, with the mantras, and garland, and sing some songs, try to meditate. But Sri Ramakrishna was not satisfied with only these things. What a priest, unique priest he was. He said, if the mother I worship in the image is a real being, is a living goddess, then my worship has the meaning. If I worship just the statue, then what is the meaning? What is the meaning of worship to worship the stone statue? So he went on asking itself, Mother, are you real? Do you accept my worship, or you are just statue? So he was going to ask and say, Mother, you reveal yourself to me. If you do not reveal your real self to me, it will be difficult for me to leave. And he used to rub his face on the ground and say, Mother, please reveal. You have revealed yourself to Ram Prasad, to Kamalakanta. Why are you not revealing to me? You are there. If you do not reveal, I don't want to leave. What type of uniqueness of this priest was worshipping in the Kali temple? He wants mother to say face to face, talk to her, feed her, and then only he will worship her. He refused. If mother did not reveal, I will end my life. Life is meaningless without God. Anything is meaningless without God. Worthless, meaningless. Only God makes the meaning of the thing. That's why later on Sri Ramakrishna said during his teaching, everything is zero, no value. But if one is added on the left of that zero, every zero gets value. If God is connected with the things of the world get value. If it is devoid of God, if you don't connect the things, the relationships, your life itself to God, your life is valueless. Your relationship has no meaning. Your things are useless. That's why this one is God. And Sri Ramakrishna in that state, when he was desiring, yearning for God, unique way of sadhana. He just through yearning, Mother, show me, crying, then putting his full focus on the Divine Mother to reveal herself to Sri Ramakrishna. One day Sri Ramakrishna was trying to give up his life. It was too much for him to live. At that very moment, then he fell down unconscious, and he felt the ocean of light all around him, and the ocean of the waves are coming from the ocean of light, and that waves then drowned Sri Ramakrishna's personality. His awareness, his worldly consciousness was drowned in the light of divinity. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya all became practical in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. And that Jyoti, how long he was in that divine awareness of divine light, he couldn't say. But when he came back to the normal, ordinary, worldly consciousness of that, then he was uttering, Ma, Ma. He doesn't know whether he has seen the form of Divine Mother living, but he was aware. For him, Ma and Brahman were same. Ma was the name of God for Sri Ramakrishna. What a unique evolution of the word of Mother. Mother and the name of God became same. For Sri Ramakrishna elevated the name of Mother equal to Om. Om and Ma are equally important word in Hinduism now after Sri Ramakrishna. So that was the very uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna's realization, and how he describes. Never we have seen how incarnation had realization. Everybody says they had realized God, I had realization God. But in very few places you will find that there is any description of what is meant by realization. That was Sri Ramakrishna's realization. He expresses that. What a unique personality. Not only that, he wanted to even teach what is the samadhi, what is nirvikalpa samadhi. He wanted to express what one feels when one has transcended worldly awareness and gone deep into divine transcendental awareness. And then he said, oh sorry, I can't do that. As if mother is praising my tongue, I cannot speak. Just to tally with the Vedic teaching, yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasa. In that state, speech fails to reach. The mind cannot fathom. That is the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Sri Ramakrishna, it happens. He cannot speak the realization, and he expresses as if someone is pressing my tongue. He tried again and again to express how one feels. And finally he says, you know how this blissful experience is? It cannot be expressed. It is like eating ghee, and if someone asks how the ghee tastes, the person will say, I cannot describe ghee to you. To understand how ghee tastes, you have to yourself eat ghee. So Sri Ramakrishna also said, realize God in your life, fully understand what is the bliss of God realization is like. Without yourself realizing, you cannot understand through gaze or through imagination what is the joy of illumination. You will have to experience yourself. That was Sri Ramakrishna's yearning, this vision of Mother Kali, only through the process of yearning, crying. That's why later he says, can you cry for God? You said jug full of tears for worldly things, but can you cry for God? Then God will reveal. If you really focus your whole heart and soul to God, God will reveal. Then after God's realization, Mother was realized, and then he started seeing Mother in place of stone image of Mother Kali. People saw Mother's image. Sri Ramakrishna says, Divine Mother herself there. And he starts putting flower at his feet and giving and waving light and incense stick in front of him, and then feeding her. And Sri Ramakrishna used to feed really as a person feeds a child. Like that, Sri Ramakrishna used to take food in hand and take near the mouth of the Divine Mother in the image. And he saw Mother is accepting, Mother is eating. Now Mother's awareness about the Mother became more broadened. He started seeing Mother not only in the image of Divine Mother, but everywhere. Inside his own personality, he saw Divine Mother. In the people that came devotees, he saw the Divine Mother. Even in the cat that came in the temple, he saw the Divine Mother pulsating inside him. So sometimes with this realization, he was worshipping Divine Mother. And he said, oh Mother, you want me to eat first before I offer you? Okay. And he was offering to himself on the command of the Divine Mother. But how will people seeing worship understand this unique phenomenon? They all complained to the owner of the temple, Mathur Babu and Rani Rasmani. They said, don't disturb Father. He is a great spiritual person. We know what he is. They, by the grace of God, could understand the uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna. They say when Sri Ramakrishna used to do worship, there was a different charge in the temple. Hridaya says, when I used to go there, Sri Ramakrishna did all this anomaly and abnormal things, taking this thing, eating sometime before 8, and doing meditation for long hours, feeding even cat before offering, seeing Mother in the cat. But he said, when I went there was like an electric shock, there was a pull, there was a strange feeling that even my hair used to stand on end, hairs of my body used to stand on end when I went to the temple when Sri Ramakrishna was worshipping Divine Mother. Hridaya was not of that spiritual eminence. He was just an ordinary person like you and me. But he could feel the difference when Sri Ramakrishna worshipped. Divine presence was there, unseen by Hridaya, but seen by Sri Ramakrishna in its unique form of worship. Then one day one lady came, and Sri Ramakrishna, who very rarely he used to talk, and he asked one lady, he asked Hridaya, go and talk to that lady and say that I want to meet her. Hridaya said he never wants to meet with any woman. He is always immersed in the thought of God. Why he is asking this lady to come? He went to that lady, and that lady said, oh, Sri Ramakrishna calling, I will go there. So he goes from Ganga, the ghat in Ganga to Sri Ramakrishna's, near Sri Ramakrishna's room. And seeing Sri Ramakrishna, the lady said, "Oh, I have been searching you. By the command of the Divine Mother, by command of God, I was commanded to teach 3 persons. 2 I have already made disciples, and you are the one that God wants you to teach in the Tantra." She was an adept and God realized person, an adept in Vaishnava Tantra. And he said, "I will teach you the Vaishnava Tantra." And this Bhairavi Brahmani started teaching him. Tantra experience, there are many ways to realize God. 64 Vaishnava Tantra disciplines. And Sri Ramakrishna, she teaches one, Sri Ramakrishna realizes God through one. She teaches next one, Sri Ramakrishna realized another one. Even Bhairavi Brahmani might have not realized God through all the 64 Tantras. It's not needed even. But Sri Ramakrishna was so unique that he realized God through all the 64 Tantras, methods. He reached the acme at the pinnacle of success in realizing God through that. What a unique person was Sri Ramakrishna. Bhairavi becomes so much charmed with this devotion of his disciple here. She gathered everything that he needed. She treated Sri Ramakrishna as very dear one and did everything that it needed to be done in the tantric discipline that she taught Sri Ramakrishna. Then one day, after having realized God in so many ways, Divine Mother, always living in Divine Mother, he was plucking flower near the Ganga, and one stalwart person, tall, stalwart person whose body, bare-bodied, seemed to be a very great sadhaka, comes and says, "See Sri Ramakrishna, young man, face beaming, a great person to learn Vedanta," and says, "Do you want to learn Advaita Vedanta?" Sri Ramakrishna saw this matter-haired sannyasin, traditional sannyasin, and said, "I don't know. I have to ask mother whether I should learn Advaita Vedanta or not." And this person asked, "Go and ask your mother." He thought he was going to ask his own earthly mother. Instead, Sri Ramakrishna goes to the temple of the Divine Mother and he talks to the Divine Mother something. This sannyasin, this Totapuri, was surprised what this person is going to ask in the temple to a stone image to ask whether he should learn Vedanta or not, practice Vedanta or not. Sri Ramakrishna came after a few minutes, face beaming, happy, and said, "Yes, mother told me I will have to learn Vedanta from you. For that purpose she has brought you to me." The uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna is Sri Ramakrishna doesn't have to go to the teachers to study how to practice spiritual discipline. Teacher come to his door, come to his place and offer their teaching. What a unique phenomenon this. And Totapuri starts instructing him in the teachings of Vedanta. He said, "You will have to take sannyasa to have the Advaita realization." He himself had practiced Advaita, very, very hard practice he did for 40 years of great sadhana, and then he realized God as transcendental reality, infinite, formless reality, which pervades this whole universe and is beyond the universe. Universe seems to be just an appearance of that reality, manifesting that reality as appearance. So he said that, "I will teach you, so you'll have to take sannyasa." Now sannyasins, as you see us, we wear ochre robes, Hindu sannyasin. Sri Ramakrishna said, "I have a condition. My old mother lives here. Can you initiate me into sannyasa and not ask me to change the dress? Can I wear white dress instead of ochre robes?" The Guru said, "Yes, you are so unique. You don't need to wear the traditional sannyasin dress." Sri Ramakrishna didn't have to wear that. And he practiced. The mantra was given. He was taught how to meditate on Nirguna Nirakara Brahman. To realize which Totapuri take 40 years. Sri Ramakrishna started going deeper into the awareness of true self, Nirguna Nirakara, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. And he had little difficulty. He could withdraw his mind from all worldly things, all worldly identification. He could remove that, but Divine Mother is to come to his vision, that so dear, for whom he lived and for whom he breathed. So Totapuri said, I can't meditate on the formless aspect of God. Whenever I try to do that, my Divine Mother, my Mother Kali comes in front of my vision. It's so dear to me. Totapuri said, no, you have to go beyond the form. You have to reach the formless infinity. And he placed a broken piece of some other thing there on the ground and placed it between the eyebrows of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna meditated on the pain that I inflicted in your forehead. And Sri Ramakrishna started meditating. Again the Divine Mother came. Then he said, I used this knowledge as the sword and cut the form into two. That means he said, God with form is real, God without form is real. And then with that knowledge, then his mind soared high and merged in the formless reality. Totapuri saw Sri Ramakrishna has gone deep into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, great meditation, great absorption, where one is unaware of any ego, any body consciousness, unaware of the world around it. And Sri Ramakrishna was there. Totapuri was pleased, and he thought he will come back to normalcy, normal world after a few hours. But to his surprise, he found Sri Ramakrishna was absorbed in that transcendental awareness for 3 days and 3 nights. After that, it was very unique phenomenon in the history. It takes so much of time to reach even for a few hours of samadhi. And here is the person who is already immersed in the awareness of the transcendental reality. Then Totapuri cries out the name of God, Brahman's name, Hari Om, that's what he says, and Sri Ramakrishna gradually comes to the normal plane. Isn't this unique in his life of sadhana? Then, in case of Sri Ramakrishna, all gurus have to learn something from the student, from disciple, from Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna said to Totapuri, my wife, Sri Sarada Devi, Holy Mother, lives near him. So can she live near me? Totapuri understood Sri Ramakrishna is not an ordinary sadhaka, not ordinary saint. He is par excellence. He said, for you there is no rule like that. You are beyond any lust or anger or greed. You have conquered all those things. You are unique. So nothing is any restriction for you. So Holy Mother lived with Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was a sannyasi and Holy Mother lived with Sri Ramakrishna, not seen in any other form of life. Now after that, Sri Ramakrishna's, even before this Advaita sadhana, Sri Ramakrishna had the sadhana of, he wanted to realize Rama. And he practiced how to realize Rama. So he thought himself as Hanuman, the greatest devotee of Rama. Practiced like Hanuman, thought himself as a monkey, started perching on the tree, remaining there for a whole day and wearing dhoti with a long end. And that end was like the tail of Hanuman. Sri Ramakrishna says, thinking of Hanuman, I became, like my eyes used to be restless, like the monkeys looking here and there. My life was like that. And when I was doing that way, one day I saw a woman coming there. And then one monkey came and fell at the feet of this woman, some executive divine personality. He saw, who can this woman be? Then he realized, oh, it is Sita. Sita came, and he saw the feet of Sita there, and Sita came near Sri Ramakrishna and then emerged in the body of Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna said, Sita had beautiful smile, and after merging in my body, she bequeathed, gave that smile to me. the beautiful smile that we see in Sri Ramakrishna's image and photograph, if you see intently, and if you see Belur Math image, then you find it is the smile of Sita, the divine smile of a divine mother that Sri Ramakrishna got. He said that once a devotee went to our center, and he met a monk who was very smiling and very happy and jolly. He said, Swami, I've very rarely seen a person like you, so happy, so smiling. You wear so wonderful smile you have. The monk said, don't talk silly. If you want to see real, divine and beautiful smile, go to the temple and look at the image of Sri Ramakrishna. That is called beautiful smile, the charming smile. What you compare that smile with the human and worldly smile, that is the divine smile. That smile you find in Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna also practiced himself as Radha. He dressed like a woman, was in the thought of Krishna, and then he became he thought himself as a woman. His idea about male gone, he became like a woman. And only in the love of Krishna, he used to always fill his heart with Krishna consciousness, and he had really become like a Radha. How he realized all this Krishna and Sita. One day one devotee came. He was a devotee of Sri Ramachandra, baby Rama, called Ram Lala. His name was Ram Lala. That saint came, and the saint had an image, small statue of Rama. But he used to see Rama, the baby Rama, living, where he used to feed him, he used to bathe him, he used to talk with him. But he found that baby Rama, seeing Sri Ramakrishna, was more attracted to Sri Ramakrishna. One day that Jatadhari saw, and Sri Ramakrishna Ram Lala went to Sri Ramakrishna. What a unique phenomenon. And Sri Ramakrishna, it was living. For others it was a small baby statue. For Sri Ramakrishna and this Jatadhari, it was real God, living presence of God. Then he used to play with him, he used to make prank with Sri Ramakrishna. They both used to go to take bath, he used to splash water at Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna used to call him, come. And Sri Ram, that he would not come, he used to forcefully come, bring him, sometimes punish the Ram Lala, the boy, baby God, and sometimes he used to offer him bread, like that thing. It was living presence Ram Lala. The Jatadhari saw that Sri Ramakrishna, this Ram Lala was more happy with Sri Ramakrishna. He had to leave Dakshineswar. He offered that baby Rama idol to Sri Ramakrishna, saying, Rama, my heart's deity, Ram Lala is happier to being here, and in the happiness of my beloved is my happiness. Tat sukha sukhitvam. That is the real love, where you find the joy of your beloved is there. So Ram Lala, the Jatadhari, was a real devotee of God, real lover of God. So he said, let Ram Lala be here with you. I will go, I will very cherish, he is enshrined in my heart, I will go with Ram Lala enshrined in my heart. So he had the vision of Sri Rama. And after all this thing, this Bhairavi Brahmani, seeing uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna, say, you are not ordinary sadhaka, you are not a unique saint, you are incarnation of God. All the things that is described about incarnations in the scriptures they just tally with your behavior, with your achievement, with your success, with your life, with your thoughts. So she called a meeting of scholars and proclaimed there that Sri Ramakrishna is incarnation of God. I have made this all tally, the qualities of incarnation of God, all they fructify in Sri Ramakrishna. All they tally. And all these scholars, they said, yes, Sri Ramakrishna is incarnation of God. And Sri Ramakrishna was in that meeting. What was he doing when he was proclaimed as the incarnation of God? He was just like simply like playing like innocent child. He had no pride. Uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna was his total erasing of ego. He had no ego. Once he says to Yam, I can't find my I inside. Inside me, only I find Divine Mother. His ego was totally replaced by God. His I consciousness was replaced by God consciousness in fullest term, unique life of Sri Ramakrishna. One day, Mathur Babu was sitting in his terrace of his house near the temple, and Sri Ramakrishna was walking in his veranda. And Mathur Babu in the vision saw that Sri Ramakrishna was walking, but he came back, his Mother Kali came back. And again he returned back, it was Shiva returned back. It was Shiva, Kali, Sri Ramakrishna. Shiva, Kali, Sri Ramakrishna. So he was dumbfounded, ran from the temple, ran from his terrace, came to this veranda where Sri Ramakrishna was staying and walking, and held Sri Ramakrishna's feet and said, Father, now I know who you are. He had tremendous respect for Sri Ramakrishna, but now he realized that Sri Ramakrishna is divine and unique. That's how Sri Ramakrishna's vision. What Sri Ramakrishna did? What do you say? I don't know anything. Nothing Sri Ramakrishna made by his will. It was not the play of Sri Ramakrishna. It was the divine play of the Supreme Being that was working through the body of Sri Ramakrishna. Now, as he had a yearning for God and wanted to realize God through various ways, now he wanted to realize God only not through Hinduism, different methods of Hinduism, but how do Christians worship God? He started meditating on Christ and prayed, Mother, show me how Christians worship. This vision came of a church where people were all sitting and they were kneeling down in front of the cross, and the Bible was being read, and all those things came in front of him. One day he was there in the Panchavati, he suddenly saw a tall figure coming towards him. And he said, who is this person? And he said, oh, it is Christ. He recognized, it is Christ. He has taken the burden of whole humanity into him, and all his mistakes, the sins of the people he has taken, and he who said, oh, who are tired and weary, come to me, and you will find rest in me. That person, he came near Sri Ramakrishna. He embraced Sri Ramakrishna and merged in the body of Sri Ramakrishna. That Sri Ramakrishna experience, what a unique phenomenon that Jesus Christ merges in the body of Sri Ramakrishna. Mother Sita merges in the body of Sri Ramakrishna. After seeing this, one day he thought, how Muslims pray? Let me see what the Islam, the text to one. And then he practiced, took out all the photographs, perfectly dressed in the Muslim dress, started eating Islamic food and doing namaz 5 times a day. And in 3 days, he found that Islam, through the practice of Islam, in the true sense, if you go, you will realize God in the way that Islam has described. So he found that Islam is also as true as Christianity, Christianity as true as Hinduism. All religions are true through his own experience. No one else before has practiced all religions, not to speak of different paths of Hinduism. Sri Ramakrishna practiced all religions and found religions are true. Religion is true. Only you need purity of mind and love of humanity and love of God. You can reach that state of divine embrace by following any path. And he said everyone should follow their own path. Islamic path for Muslims, Christian path for Christians, Hindu path for Hindus, then the worship of Buddha and meditation for Buddhists, and they can reach the same goal. And he gave the example that God is called by different names. It is one reality, one God. Some call it Pani, some call it water, some call it Jal, but it is only one liquid H2O. All they take that water from different ghats they go, but you reach, the goal is one, paths are different. All religions are one. All co-religions should live in harmony and supporting each other, knowing that we all are going there. Our paths are different, name of the goal is different, but goal is same. That was so unique of Sri Ramakrishna, preaching about the harmony of religions through his own practice. After all this, Sri Ramakrishna thing came, and Divine Mother showed him, you will have to spread what you have experienced to the devotees. People will come to you, you will talk to them of your experience, you will mold their life and guide them towards light, you guide them towards divinity, towards the realization of divinity. That you have to do. And the devotees were not coming. And the Sri Ramakrishna used to go to that Kutibadi and cry out, where are you? Please come, I am not seeing you. Mother said that you will come, day is leaving. Yearning, that was for Divine Mother. This yearning now turned towards human beings, towards devotees, towards people with whom he would share what he learned through his experience. This such yearning for devotees is not seen in the history of any spiritual person. It is a unique phenomenon that this person, this spiritual person, call him Avatara, call him Avatara Varishta, whatever, had such a great yearning to express and guide the people towards light, towards bliss. That was, and he was crying for that. He was crying, really crying for to be with the people and to guide them from suffering to bliss. How was Sri Ramakrishna? That was unique. And Sri Ramakrishna was unique karma yogi. Whoever came, whatever time he was, or everyone was welcome. No distinction of any person is pure or impure, is rich or poor, is a small boy or a very senior person, doesn't matter. Anyone coming to Sri Ramakrishna was welcome. People came attracted, like magnet attracts the iron filings, like that people are attracted by Sri Ramakrishna's personality and started coming one after another. That he prayed to Divine Mother and prayed to, and he had showed the yearning, they flocking to Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineswar. There was no time limit that you come between 10 and 4, 9 to 5 office, nothing like that. Any time people could come. His door was always open for the people, for the devotees to come. And devotees also would come at midnight. And some devotees, some people came drunk, fully intoxicated to Sri Ramakrishna. What a unique thing. And how did Sri Ramakrishna behave with those people? Not in proper mood. Midnight they are coming. He grabbed their hand and he started dancing with that. Girish goes, and that was love. He showered his love. He was unique in showering his love to everyone. Each and everyone was touched by his love. In the very first meeting, Yam describes that he saw Sri Ramakrishna talking to devotees and felt that as if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing a Nagar Kirtan, and he was all absorbed in that, almost so joyful in singing the glory of God. There were no one was singing in Sri Ramakrishna's room. They were just listening to Sri Ramakrishna. But Yam, in his first visit, could feel that joy that was filling the room, the joy in the words of Sri Ramakrishna, joy that was developing in the hearts of devotees, as if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Kirtan is going on. As Shukadeva is describing the Bhagavatam to Parikshit, what a divine place I have come. That was Sri Ramakrishna's love, unique love he had. Holy Mother says, Sri Ramakrishna's uniqueness, what is it, you know? It is his extraordinary renunciation. That was not seen, not heard of. He never possessed anything, not only in mind, but also physically. He never touched money. He said even money to impress upon his mind that money has no value, to have so much renunciation. He used to take money in coin in one hand and earth in another hand, a little clay in another hand, and say taka, mati, taka. Those are of same value. This piece of earth and the money has same value. Money is not valuable thing, and throw them both to water to erase any sort of giving value to much value to the thing that has no value, money no value, and was established in renunciation. He never could stand the touch of coin, touch of even metal. So once Narendranath wanted to prove that whether Sri Ramakrishna wanted to have proof that Sri Ramakrishna cannot touch money. When Sri Ramakrishna had gone out, he put one coin under the mattress of Sri Ramakrishna. When Sri Ramakrishna came and sat on that mattress, he jumped as if he was stung by a scorpion. And something might be there underneath, you see. He had not touched the coin, but the coin was under him. That itself was unbearable, that little type of possession, it was not possessing also. And then Naren was sitting with head down, that what he was experimenting. They found a coin and they removed that from there. That was the uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, another uniqueness was his respect for women. Once two women came to Sri Ramakrishna, they were fasting. Sri Ramakrishna, somehow in conversation with Sri Ramakrishna, found out they're fasting. And said, it's afternoon, late in the afternoon, and you are fasting, mothers? I cannot stand any suffering of women. Please eat, don't fast. He said, why were you fasting? Oh, we are coming to see you. You are holy man to see you. That's why. No, never give trouble to yourself, your mother. That was his love for women. So much of respect he has for women. His own wife is worshipped as the Divine Mother, literally worshipped with flowers, sandal paste, as we worship God in the image and photographs. Similarly, he worshipped Sarada Devi, his own wife, and offered food. And not only worshipped, he offered all the fruits of his sadhana to her feet. He offered his rosary, that from that day he has to practice anything. So that greatness he found in Sri Sarada Devi, and for him every woman was the image of Divine Mother. That is unique in the history, that how much respect one can give to women. His forgiveness was also great. He never had any grudge against anyone. When once he was in one samadhi, one person who had felt jealousy because he was close to Mathur Babu and Rani Rasmani, killed Sri Ramakrishna's body when Sri Ramakrishna was in samadhi. And he told this story to Hridaya and said, don't tell this to anyone. He forgave. They may punish that person. I don't want anyone to be punished for that. He forgave everyone for any mistake or anything they did to Sri Ramakrishna. Once Girish Ghosh came to Sri Ramakrishna and abused him for left and right, and dirtiest words he abused. Sri Ramakrishna, other disciples were so sorry for someone coming and saying so abusive words to the person whom they adored. And next day Sri Ramakrishna was supposed to go to Girish. They all say, don't go to this person. He is not in his wits. He is not a person to be continued your affection. Don't visit him. He should at least know that he should not use those words to you. Sri Ramakrishna didn't say anything. Next morning he says, call the carriage, I will go to Girish Ghosh. He goes there. Girish Ghosh was waiting to see Sri Ramakrishna. He was aware that he said very dirty words to Sri Ramakrishna, very abusive words. And when Sri Ramakrishna came, alighted from the carriage, went to his house, Girish Ghosh was all crying, shedding tears. And he said, if you had not come today, I would know that you are not God. That proves, this unique forgiveness proves that he was God. Sri Ramakrishna was not just the incarnation of God in ordinary sense. His influence is far-reaching. I'd like to read from Swami Bhajananandi again. For a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, the most important problem of life is the quest for the real Sri Ramakrishna. A true devotee of Ramakrishna does not remain satisfied with reading or hearing about his life and teachings. Making use of the knowledge thus gained, the devotee tries to seek the reality of which this knowledge is a shadow. The devotee soon finds that this mystic quest is leading him or her onto the depth of their soul, which is the gateway to the world of the spirit. It is there that the real Ramakrishna is to be sought. The real Sri Ramakrishna is unknown, but not unknowable. He can be known only if he reveals himself, and he reveals himself to sincere aspirants in the secret depths of their hearts, and fulfills the beginningless yearnings of their souls. Diverse and mysterious are the ways by which the Incarnation reveals himself to the blessed and leads them from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. What even these blessed souls feel about him has been expressed by Swami Abhedananda, who was certainly one among them in the following verse. O Lord, I do not know your real nature. Whatever be the truth you reveal yourself in, to that I offer my salutations again and again. Swami Vivekananda said to a disciple on the birthday celebration of Sri Ramakrishna 1902 at Belur Math, blessed are those who have seen Sri Ramakrishna. All of you too will get his vision. When you have come here, you are very near to him. Nobody has been able to understand him who came on earth as Sri Ramakrishna. Even his own nearest devotees have no real clue to it. Only some have a little inkling of it. All will understand in time. From Diary of a Disciple. First, we must raise the Hindu races, then the world. That is why Sri Ramakrishna was born. He never destroyed a single man's inclinations. He gave words of hope and encouragement even to the most degraded and uplifted them. We must follow in his footsteps and uplift everyone and rouse them. Do you understand? Swami Vivekananda. Comparing Swami Vivekananda's own spiritual attitude with that of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda said, he was a jnani within, but a bhakta without. But I am a bhakta within and a jnani without. If there has been anything achieved by me, by thoughts or words or deeds, if from my lips has ever fallen one word that has ever helped anyone in the world, I lay no claim to it. It was his. But if there have been curses falling from my lips, if there has been hatred coming out of me, it is all mine and not his. All that has been weak has been mine. All that has been life-giving, strengthening, pure and holy has been his inspiration, his words and he himself. Yes, my friends, the world has yet to know that man. He said this in Calcutta speech. Swami Vivekananda said at another place, Sri Ramakrishna is far greater than his disciples understand him to be. He is the embodiment of infinite spiritual ideas, capable of development in infinite ways. Even if one can find a limit to the knowledge of Brahman, one cannot measure the unfathomable depth of our Master's mind. All that I am, all that the world someday be, is owing to my Master Sri Ramakrishna. That is the unique spiritual phenomenon that came to this world of our times, barely 150 years ago in 1836. And that phenomenon, body lived for 50 years, spread the blossom fragrance, and that fragrance of his teaching and life remains in this world for ages to come. We are too close to that fragrance. We get very fresh, and the more time goes, his revelation will be more intimate, People will understand. It will delude the world, as Swami Vivekananda prophesied, that his ideas will delude the world and human beings will be better human beings, having lot of support and love for each other, lot of guidance and movements towards God, revealing divinity within and seeing divinity in everyone by the sheer grace and power of Sri Ramakrishna, the unique phenomenon that we are so fortunate to understand a little bit in his life, a little bit through his teachings, and to know fully of this uniqueness of this being, whom we call Sri Ramakrishna. We have to meditate, go deeper into his being, and deeper in the deepest awareness in our hearts, we will become the phenomenon called Sri Ramakrishna. The real Sri Ramakrishna will reveal in our hearts, which we may not be able to express with Sri Ramakrishna, but that awareness will remain in our life, making our life, changing our life, and transforming our life into a blessed presence in this world, and showing and radiating the luster of purity, of love, of devotion, of forgiveness around us in a little, maybe small way. And that luster, devotion, blessedness, all that is, that expression is all that Sri Ramakrishna. May Sri Ramakrishna reveal through all of us, and may we make the life of everyone we touch blessed, make our life blissful by the grace of the unique Sri Ramakrishna. Thank you. Now the closing chants. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmu. Jai Sri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Jai Mahamai Ki Jai. Jai Swami Ji Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Buddha Ki Jai. Jai Isha Musha Ki Jai. Sarvastarati Durgani Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu Sarvasad Buddhimapnotu Sarvas Sarvatra Nandatu. Hari Om Tat Sat. May all be freed from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.